The Mazda was a masterstroke of Masterclass Mazda strokes.
Welcome to BrotoGP. This is episode number 70. We are coming at you after the Czech Republic Brno round. It is not the Brno round of racing for MotoGP. It is the Brno round. This is right. BrotoGP. Yeah, there we go. Kevin is on the phone.
People are putting the wrong emphasis on the incorrect syllable.
They're adding letters. They're adding letters even. Why did the
you could forgive them for the Czech language randomly adding fucking Z's, V's, and K's to words. You know what I mean? Like, anytime you look at a fucking 20-letter word, it's got more 19 consonants and one vowel. You know you're fucking in Brno.
Kevin is here. We're already talking shit about our favorite announcer, and surprisingly, Dennis is here as well.
What?
What? Really? Where?
Right there.
There he is. So Everett had to bail for some hockey games, and we called upon Daddy D. And didn't you just get back from
Daddy D?
That's horrible.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
I'm out. Peace.
Peace.
Well, you've already used 3 of your allotted things to say, or was that only 2? Right? You've got a short list.
2.5.
Right.
All right. I shouldn't keep using them up by getting you to talk about random nicknames or something.
Motherfucking Dennis is here.
Yeah, he's here. He will contribute as much as physically possible for Dennis, which will be a ton. But all right, let's before we get into some racing, we were not actually sponsored by Riders Law back in 2006 on our radio show, but they do sponsor us in 2017. So I can't even get through
if you want a link to riderslaw.com, you ain't gonna find that link on our MySpace page, bro. It ain't gonna happen. You can see our pimped out profile, straight up pimp my profile, and sparkles and colors and links with underlines and shit, but you will not find a link to riderslaw.com. But you will find that link on our Instagram and our Facebook, and from Rob right now.
From Rob right now.
Actually, for the record, I didn't join you guys in the last episode because, little tidbit, I didn't actually start following MotoGP until 2008.
Oh, shit.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, so were you surprised by our last episode? Like, you should go watch the race and then listen to the episode because it'll be all new for you.
Maybe I will, actually, yeah.
Yeah. If you don't understand what we're actually talking about, our last episode was a little bit of time traveling back to 2006. And we highlighted Nicky Hayden's amazing end of year and race at Valencia in 2006. Go listen to that shit. It was hilarious. There were some Bill and Ted references because that's how we do. And
significant. 69, bros.
Significant. But back to business. So of course, Riders Law, they're your motorcycle California accident injury lawyers. Riders Law is actually out at Sonoma this weekend for the Moto America races. So if you're in Northern California and you're going to those races, definitely stop by the booth. Riders Law, I'm pretty sure they're the presenting sponsorship for the entire round and for the KTM Cup. So they're really hooking up racing. And if you guys ever need any help, any legal advice, call them out, hook them up, and they will take care of you. Riders Law, that's Riders Law with a Z. Check out their website. Give Cy and lawyer Rob a call, and they will definitely take care of you. And they're taking care of us, so keep it going.
Speaking of Sonoma Raceway, the barn that I live in is located not far from Sonoma Raceway. In fact, oddly close. So if you see a devilishly handsome man walking around in a BrotoGP shirt, that's probably yours truly. Say what up. Be like that guy at Laguna who asked me if I was in BrotoGP, and my response was, nigga, I am BrotoGP.
Wait, when did that happen? I didn't
You
even
didn't
hear
see
about
that happen at Laguna? I walked by and this fucking dude, I'm wearing the shirt, right? And I got the Riders Law sunglasses on, the baby blues, the like 29-cent ones that are fucking dope. And I walked by and the guy's like, hey, you listen to BrotoGP? Are you in BrotoGP? And I'm like, dude, I am BrotoGP.
Kevin.
And hold on. And instantly he says, "Oh shit, you're Kevin?" Because, I mean, yeah, that's, when someone says they are BrotoGP, that's the first thing he said.
Kevin, we've said it from day one. Your voice is simply, it just doesn't compute with the rest of your body. So you gotta
it is a bit confusing if you see me in real life versus what you expect. The number one answer is, wow, you're not what I expected.
We've told people that you kick guys' asses in BJJ, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Maybe we should also tell them that you compete in the open category, which is like all the big dudes.
Any age, just by exactly. So it's all good.
So even though I may have a deeper voice than you, I'm the motorcycle racer who generally kind of cuts weight most days, and you're the fucking open Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competitor.
Correct.
Basically, our biggest voice has the smallest body, and our lightest voice has the bigger body.
Correct.
Something
and I'm
like
in between.
This is
I don't know. I would still say that Kev has a very, very large voice, but in a different way.
Loud is not large, man. Loud is not large. High pitched, yes.
All right, let's actually get into some motorcycle racing now. So the summer break is over. MotoGP is back, and so is motherfucking Marc Marquez. So the main thing we will mostly be talking about the first 4 or 5 laps of the race here, because that's pretty much all that.
Because that's all that actually existed for the race was basically 2.5 laps.
It was both like it really built up a lot of tension, like me hoping that something else was going to happen, but it also was a big letdown that it kind of all just happened right in the beginning.
Right. No, what you mean? It wasn't a Masterclass? It wasn't a Masterstroke? It wasn't a Masterstroke of geniusly stroking masters?
It might have been.
Yeah.
No, so the thing that I think was hilarious is that there was so much talk about it being a Masterstroke, but I think that Marc Marquez was actually forced into coming into the pits because he chose the wrong rear tire.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that's going to be difficult to ever truly know. Like, what was he crazy like a fox, or was his decision so wrong that it forced him into the perfect timing? You know, like, the two sides of the coin are he chose a soft tire because he's not going to let anyone know he wants slicks because he doesn't want to play his hand. So he's basically going to get, they spent the whole broadcast saying Jack Miller said the tire only lasts 1.5 laps, yada, yada, yada. Was that his whole plan to go balls to the wall for 2 laps, then change, and then get out there with a slightly lighter fuel load and just, go hardcore on slicks once he saw where the dry line was? Difficult to say, but it worked out to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, I initially kind of thought that slicks would have been the best choice, and then hearing a bunch of people around the forums and even some comments on articles and stuff saying that Marquez didn't want to go slicks because he didn't want everyone else to know about it. That's the Masterstroke for me. The soft tire thing was just pure luck completely. Because if I got to imagine that if Marquez put on the medium rear tire, the same that everyone else was on, the medium rain, that he would have been out there for 3 or 4 laps, not for 1.5 and come in on the second one.
Yeah, I mean, there's an interesting, like some people, they ask writers later what they thought of it, because obviously it was sort of the only real story of the race, other than Scott Redding getting Maverick's sloppy seconds. But we'll get to that later. But right, that's how interesting the race was. That I'm talking about which sloppy seconds someone's fucking calling me. Which sloppy seconds the last place fucking rider's getting, but. They asked Dovi what he thought about it, and Dovi had an interesting take that I really think is kind of right on and sort of cements is that no one wins races by taking risks. They win races by managing risks, and I think that's a good distinction. Marquez doesn't just take massive risks. He took the risk but managed it. He hit the two laps, lap and a half, 2 laps that tire was going to last. Came in, switched, and then went balls to the wall. But that's his style, knowing he can get those up to temperature of the slicks and really start pounding out once he had the dry line. I don't really think it was a massive gamble. It's just as an intelligent choice that him and the team were wholly committed to.
Well, I mean, even the soft rear tire was a larger risk than the medium that he didn't actually want to take, right? He used the medium tire on the siding lap, and came in and specifically told his team that there was something wrong with it. So they put the soft rear tire on. If that hadn't happened, he would have been on the other tire, and there would have been slightly less risk for him. And, I mean, both tires, right, going out on the rains as opposed to going out on slicks is managing risk because the track will be wetter in the first couple of laps, and it was likely going to eventually dry in some amount until the rain came down, which it never did. But yeah, just like you're saying, just like he does in every single practice, right? He may tuck the front, but that's him managing the risk for later on in the race. With this, he put on the soft rear tire to manage the risk of running slicks right on the off, and then just ran away with it when he finally got onto slicks later on.
Right, and another thing that I wanted to sort of cover, I think that's important to point out is everyone asked why, got also credit there. One of his Masterstrokes, fucking Masterstroke, was that his bike was set up for full dry. His B bike, while many of the other riders' bikes were set up for wet, right? And that was the problem with Lorenzo. The bike wasn't set up when he came in and all that. But that's because I think that, they've said before, Honda said this before, that in their opinion, intermediates don't exist. Which conceptually means it's either fully wet or it's dry. So there's no reason to have that second bike set up, with wets, because their assumption is it's either we're going to treat this race as if it's fully wet or we're treating the race as if it's fully dry, which means have the dry bike fully set up. Don't think he might come in and switch tires to a sort of intermediate version or don't feel it out and see. The genius of his team is they wholly commit to their strategy. They wholly committed to it, and that was put him out on the bike. It's raining. We're going to put him on the soft tires and treat it as if it's raining, and then the second bike is fully dry, and he's going to run at hard pace. And that's
one of the issues with Lorenzo's team where they had both bikes set up for the wet.
Yeah,
a lot of
Dovi.
teams. Right, a lot of the teams did, and some people were saying that, the general consensus is you have that B bike set up for wets in case on the siding lap, the final lap that something goes wrong, you can switch into pit lane. But, at this point, I mean, those bikes, they're designed to have 5 engines a season, that's it. Very little was going wrong with those, unless you're, again, Scott Redding, and you're claiming that your exhaust broke. But, otherwise, these guys' bikes, they're dialed in. Repsol's bike is not going to have problems on the grid, and Marquez is not pulling a Casey Stoner circa 2010 and crashing on the siding lap of the final race of the year. He's, come on. So they had that bike set up for dry and ready to go and not worried about making mistakes and getting it switched over to dry from wet and causing problems that you saw. I mean, that probably cost Jonas Folger a podium. It certainly cost Lorenzo points and positions. It cost Dovi required to stay out well past when he should have because those teams weren't ready.
Yeah, I mean, if Ducati was fully committed to wet, they would have started changing that bike over after the siding lap, or at least the second the warm-up lap was over, right? The second the riders actually made it to the starting grid. But they waited.
Literally, when he's on the grid, they should have been changing that bike over. But if he lines up on the grid, those mechanics are hard at work.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're saying, they were kind of committing to an intermediate because Dovi went out on I'm pretty sure the soft front and the soft rear, 2 tires which were likely not going to last very long. They had the spare bike on with medium reins, just so that he could get more time out of it. So it's like they were waiting for the rain to come, and then he would have to come in, get onto another bike with reins, and then go back out. But that's already lost them the race, right? Because someone that started the race on mediums would not have come in had it have rained, and they would have just stayed out and been 30 seconds.
Yeah, they would have got offline and kept him cool and all, whatever,
Yeah. So Ducati's proposition was a losing proposition, a losing plan, no matter what they did, right? It was just generally the wrong idea, and it seems like they've learned that already. But I shouldn't already be talking about Ducati. We're getting way ahead of ourselves at this point. I mean, I agree with you that Marquez, they fully commit to something. He's also one of the riders that is able to get plenty of heat into those front tires. We know he generally runs the harder front tire because he pushes it so hard. And so that definitely helps him stay online and keep heat into the tires when the conditions are hard. If there's one rider that can do that with slicks on a damp track, it's going to be Marquez. Other people didn't want to take the risk.
In like a point of clarity, Lorenzo said that. In that same sort of article I read about what Ducati riders are thinking of that, he said Marquez is able to get on those slicks, even if it's slightly damp, and just push hard, commit, and get them up to temperature. And Lorenzo says, I have a problem with that. But Marquez doesn't. He has almost the perfect style for doing that.
Yeah, just remember Saxon ring last year.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Marquez, in this race, Marquez's first full flying lap on dries was a 1:58. And I'm pretty sure there were a couple of racers towards the back of the field that didn't do a 1:58 even when it was fully dry at the end of the race.
Yeah, I mean, his team is so, we've seen that basically since he started. They've reinvented things over and over. That team rarely makes mistakes. They're probably the best team on the grid. I mean, literally his garage. The scheming that they do is fucking insane, and it's great. And you often hear like what makes someone really good at something or good at a sport or good at fast thinking isn't necessarily how talented they are, but how much they can commit to that decision the moment they make the decision. They don't second guess themselves. That team comes up with a plan. There's no second guessing, and they do it. They execute to perfection. And in a crazy flag to flag race like we saw, 90% of the time it really comes down to the team and who was had the best plan and executed that game plan. And we saw that the Repsol team, specifically Marquez's garage, they fucking hit a hole in one again. I think the only mistake I've ever seen them make is when they kept him out. They tried to scheme how you count laps in that one race where they had to pit because tire safety.
Yeah, 2013 Phillip Island, right? Which they tried to play the rules and they failed because they didn't actually read the damn rule book. Well, not the rule book. It was made up regulations for the tires. So that actually takes us to our next point, right? Because I feel like ever since HRC and Marquez had that mistake at Phillip Island and he was disqualified, they haven't done something similar. They haven't choked. Whereas we see Rossi time and time again on flag-to-flag races, he stays out 2 laps too long. Right.
Every fucking time. Literally, every fucking time. I was doing the same thing that his own crew was doing the year or so ago. Like, what the fuck? When he goes by again, just raising my hands, going, dude, what are you doing? You lose more time on wet tires on a dry track than you lose on slicks on a wet track. Straight up.
There's more risk, but who the fuck cares when it's 10 seconds a lap that you're losing to Marc Marquez? And it was 3 laps. It was insane. I was yelling at the television, go in, box, 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 go in, you motherfucker. It's terrible.
Right, Polianone and go in the box, dog. I mean, what the fuck?
Wait, was his bike ready, though?
Yeah, Rossi's bike was ready right away. Dylan had commented the second that Marquez came in that Rossi's bike was ready.
I remember.
Yeah, it was Dovi that was not able to come in on time and had to stay out along with Valentino because his bike wasn't ready. But Valentino's bike was ready. Most of the riders' bikes got switched over. It was really when Ducati that kind of screwed the pooch. But he, again, it's like Rob said, he just stays out 2 laps too long. It's like he second guesses himself on when he needs to come in. Now, I'm not in the helmet and I'm not seeing the sweet new onboard dash displays that you get, but it's like he second guesses when to come in and he decides too long. You have to make the decision and commit to it. Marquez went in crazy fast.
I read a quote that said that he received his message like 10 seconds too late. But then a following quote after that saying that they weren't ready to use the onboard messages on the dashboard. I was very confused by that, right? Because it's not like he got the pit board 10 seconds too late. So what the hell is he talking about? But either way, I mean, Rossi's mistake wasn't. It wasn't just him, and even if it was just him, he is well aware that he sucks at this. He does not know. It seemed like. In everything that we've read since the race was finished, it seems like Rossi specifically told his team, you guys make the decision, but then the communication was unsuccessful. They made the decision. It was still too late, right? Rossi should have came in the lap after Marquez did at the very least. And I'm pretty sure that's when Pedrosa and a bunch of other riders came in, which is why Pedrosa made it so far into second place. But yeah, the communication for Rossi did not work out, and he just kind of went with it, and he went with his instincts, and they were wrong again.
Right, every time. You gotta wonder if it wasn't for this onboard communication, if things would have been better. You saw that they literally fucked Lorenzo up because they didn't know where he was on the track when they sent the communication. So he came over like, you know where they are on the track if you have a pit board because you fucking see them drive by. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I know where he is. He just went by. I know what position he's in because if I have to, I can actually count it physically. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that hard. And it's like I don't know, but the same problem is that he 2 laps too late and he throws it away. And this is consistently the problem with him trying to get his 10th title challenge against these guys who are faster is he makes key mistakes. Something happens in a race that totally throws him off. He should have been second in that race, not fucking fourth. You know, he should have been... The moment Marquez went in, he should have gone in because he knows he has to fight, Marc Marquez. He should have come in and tried to catch him and get going and nose the grindstone on that last lap when he saw him go in and then switch as well. They consistently make these mistakes that end up costing him too many points.
I feel like in other forms of motorsports, I feel like a lot of the competitors, they cover their closest rivals for those somewhat risky decisions, right? There's always this, all right, that guy changed tires, so I'm going to go in and change tires right now because they're doing something. I have to react. I have to respond to them. But it seems like MotoGP and flag-to-flag races are the only instance that I could think of where people look at the other rider and they go, no, he's a retard. Like, why did he go in? And then they end up being wrong.
Right, every time.
Yeah,
every fucking time.
It's insane. I will never get it through my head how Rossi, with all of his experience, can continually do this. I mean, the flag-to-flag rules haven't been around for... They've only been around for, what, half of his career?
Yeah, like at some point, he's not a wily old veteran, isn't he? He's a wily old vet. He knows his way around a track on a motorbike. I mean, shut the fuck up, Nick Harris. Seriously.
I was about to say the same thing. The wily old vet, he's got a reputation to uphold, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But fucking Rob is right. Those rules haven't been around, like, at that long in the grand scheme of his career. He just never been good at it. Ever.
Yeah. I mean, half of his career is still a considerable number of years, right? More years than Marc Marquez has been in MotoGP.
Right, exactly.
Oh, man. I mean, if Valentino had just stuck on Marquez... Well, I mean, Marquez went in behind him, right? But I wonder maybe, so one lap, he doesn't know that Marquez pits, but then go in the second one because Marquez is obviously not behind you anymore. I don't know. It's such a tricky situation to call, and we're looking at this from with hindsight, right? So.
But speaking of that, real quick, one thing I wanted to bring up is that, like, yes, it's hindsight. We can second guess and all that. And at one point, I think fucking Emmett from Motor Matters said, like, when it comes to these kind of races, whether you love or hate flag to flag depends on which rider you love and hate. Right? Like, if you love Marquez, you fucking love flag-to-flag races. If you like Dovi and Valentino, you hate them. But the flag-to-flag rule, to me, is very reminiscent, and this race is such a perfect example of the backwards grid rule in World Superbike. All it does... I mean, look who finished the race in the top 4. The top 4 best guys, right? But all it did was again, we talk about how bad of a mistake it was and how horrible it was. The dude still finished 4th. Maverick Vinales still finished his 3rd. Pedrosa still finished his 2nd. Like, all it did was stretch those guys out. All it did was stretch out the title contenders in this crazy season and make it uninteresting. I mean, some point... I'd be more interested in seeing the clusterfuck that is Moto 2, because I have to admit, seeing Marquez, Valentino, Dovizioso, Pedrosa, and Maverick go at it in basically a 6-lap club race, like sprint race, balls to the wall, no fucking strategy whatsoever after it was declared dry, would have been kind of cool.
That would have been cool. This race actually for me was very reminiscent of the Alien era, where something crazy could happen and they would still finish
it doesn't
on the
matter.
Podium. Yeah, it didn't matter at all. But but generally flag to flag is not like this, right? Like, and it's even wet races, right? Usually something else happens and someone else gets on the box. I mean, didn't Bradley Smith?
Well,
like, 2
fucking
years
Cal
ago,
Crutchlow won the race last year. Cal fucking Crutchlow.
But like even, and that was that, like, there was tire chunking, right? The Ducatis were running their winglets and they destroyed the Michelin front tire, and it's dramatically different this year. Like, yeah, in 2015, Bradley Smith, didn't he do a double bike switch? Everyone else switched bikes twice, but he just ran the whole race on slicks and put it on the box. Something like I'm pretty sure that happened at what was it, Misano? No, I can't remember.
I'm making shit up. I don't remember that.
No, that definitely happened. But so we normally get some crazy shit to happen. It's just this time, I don't know why everyone else that got onto slicks, they were god awful. Maybe it was the fact that the track was as cold as it had ever been the entire weekend, right? Most of the practices were in hot temperatures, so the factory teams, they had an amazing setup. They see the temperature, they throw in a guess for their setup, and they get it right because they're factory teams. The satellite teams see the temperature change, they throw in a guess, and they're generally just worse.
Right, because that's why they're satellite like fucking technicians. Because if they were dope, they'd be factory technicians.
Exactly, but to see Rossi just catch everyone by a full second when they're on the same tires and they're on a dry track was ridiculous, and it was reminiscent of the Alien era, and I don't want to see that anymore. I especially don't want to see it when the title challengers are when the order is the same as they're in the championship, because then the championship just blows further apart.
Right.
Which is not what we want right now. But we still have 8 more races to close that down.
Right, to close down that 14-point lead.
Exactly.
You like that segue? You like that segue?
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
So
that segue was a masterstroke. A masterstroke of genius.
Yeah. So next topic, salvage jobs, and actually bringing home some solid points. I actually didn't think that Maverick had anything for Rossi and Marc Marquez this weekend, and then he puts it on the box.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I think that it's not just necessarily that he puts on the box, but that's the confidence boost that he needs, that when things went awry, he suddenly puts it on the box like that. You know, racing is so much of what goes on between the ears of the riders, and I think Maverick needed this third place when he didn't have a great practice, didn't have great qualifying, and then in weird conditions he's able to salvage that third and beat his teammate en route to doing so. It is pretty good for the championship overall.
It probably helped him out that he was actually top Yamaha instead of it being Folger or Zarco.
Right, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, he had a string of bad races there. The last 3, right? A 10th, a retirement, and a 4th. I mean, 4th being relatively bad for Maverick Vinales, for the guy that's second in the championship. But yeah, right. he needed that confidence boost, and if he had went in at a comparable time with Marquez or with Pedrosa, then perhaps we'd be talking about a slightly different race, because I'm pretty sure he went in a lap after Pedrosa did, which put him 2 behind Marquez.
Yeah, I mean, for me, you know, Maverick, it was exactly what he needed, and once he got out there and got those things, he was flying, man. He was passing guys left and right. He was the Maverick that we saw earlier this year, which was just riding on point, not making any mistakes, passing at will, and gets all the way up to third. And if it wasn't for the fact, like you said, that he came in, you know, a lap after Pedrosa, and that's just too far of a bridge to climb. Well, too far of a bridge to climb. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying right there. That doesn't even make any sense.
Shut up, Nick Harris.
Yeah, exactly. I have an excuse. I'm drunk. But you know what I mean? Like, at least I fucking recognize it. But it's like he's able to do what he's been doing this whole year, which was on a bad weekend, you want to get third. On a bad weekend, like you said, you don't want to retire and get 10th and get 4th. On your bad weekend, you want to get a third, and that's how you win the title this year. Because the guy that wins the title this year probably isn't going to win a ton of races compared to, like you said, the Alien era where you win 9 or 10 races, or you see Marc Marquez win, you know, the first 11 races in a season. It's just not the same.
So are you acquiescing your 9 wins for Maverick this season?
I have a hard time seeing him going on winning 6 out of the next 8. I think that when they changed to the new style tire, they all voted on. I think it threw a pretty big spanner in the works, so to speak. No, I don't think he can win 9 races. I still kind of have him pegged for the title, I have to say, but who knows?
Yeah, I mean, 2 guys have 3 wins, 1 person has 2, and 2 people have 1 win. It's pretty spread out between the top 5 at the moment. So I'm sorry, Kev. We're giving up on your prediction there. It's gone.
No, I still think he wins.
Well, I'm not.
Oh yeah,
I pegged him for 2018 myself anyway. Although for a minute there, Kevin almost kind of turned me around at the start of the season. I was like, maybe Kevin's right.
He had so much confidence in the 9 wins. They were.
Or
well, and I still had that confidence when we were like 6 or 7 races in. But like, I mean, is he going to rattle off 6 wins the next 8 races? I don't think so. It's just
is he going to do it Pedrosa the second half of the season? Probably.
Yeah, exactly. That would still lose the title, though. Fucking Danny.
Well, I mean, and it'll be 6 out of 7 because he's not winning in Austria. There's no way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But well, let's move on to everyone's favorite bridesmaid then, Dani Pedrosa. This was his first second place of the year, and he made it an HRC 1-2. A really solid performance, like good throughout the entire weekend, and managed to make the right call strategically in the race. Like, that was what I expected of all the freaking title challengers, was to do exactly what Dani did.
Which was see that Marquez made the decision, and then get in there and switch off. You know what I mean? Because you gotta keep pace with him, or damage limitation. You can't just stay out and hope that I mean, half the fucking fans were just hoping Marquez crashed, right? Like, but if you're a rider in front, you can't just stay out and hope he's gonna crash. You gotta fucking match him. Like, it's the same thing we've said. Like, the reason that manufacturers don't run radically different styles of bikes, and they're all twin spar, aluminum frame, 4-cylinder, is because no rider wants anything different. They just want equal to what their fucking rivals are. They don't want anything too different, because they don't want it to be bad, or they don't want to have a disadvantage. It's like, the moment you see your title rival switch, you got to switch too, bro, because you either have to beat him straight up or limit the damage. And at this point, Valentino and Dovi, to an extent, although that was more of his team's problem, didn't limit damage at all, whereas Pedrosa completely limited the damage.
Yeah, it was a solid 20-point haul for him. And, I mean, the one thing that Pedrosa must have recognized, which is totally, to me, it screams brain fart by everyone else, they're riding on the freaking track. They know how dry it is, more than their team, more than everyone else there. It's dry. You're on reins. Go the fuck in the box. Like, just get it over with.
What Pedrosa has that everybody else doesn't is Sete Gibber now.
Yeah, you think so?
Correct. That is correct.
That's what it is.
So they had one of those HRC meetings in the box before the race and the previous night, and just like, the second you see a dry track, go in. Yeah, especially if Marquez already went in. Yeah,
exactly.
That does sound like HRC. That does sound like Dani Pedrosa, what they're going to do. I mean, from our last episode, you would know that HRC told Dani Pedrosa to get the fuck out of the way for Nicky Hayden, and he totally did it because of a meeting.
And speaking of Kevin's predictions are so right on, you got to listen to that episode for some right on predictions.
Oh man, did anyone call us out on social media about our predictions from 2006 radio show?
Yes, it was probably our most talked about fucking episode, I have to say. So, not to say go back and watch that one, but go back and listen to that one, no doubt.
Awesome. Oh man, I don't know if we have anything else to talk about Dani, because we're still not discussing him.
It's the same fucking It's the same fucking thing with Dani. It's like, he goes and gets second. He's the bridesmaid. He's not the star of the show, but he gets a lot of podiums. He gets a lot of points. He'll get it. It's like, Danny's whole fucking career is like a whole bunch of nothing to talk about. He's just pretty good, but that's it. He's just pretty good. Like,
hey, what if the championship is like much closer than it's ever been? What if he goes on another like rage and just wins like the rest of the races for the season? This time he actually, I think, would have a legitimate shot at winning the title if he did that again.
Yeah, but that year he did that, he only had one rival, Lorenzo, and Lorenzo knew he just had to finish close to Dani. There was no pressure on either of those guys. This year there's pressure galore, man. I mean, Dovizioso is in a legitimate shot to win the title. They're going to Austria next race, and he's going to win that shit, and he's going to have as many wins as fucking Marquez. Like, you know what I mean? This is not a year where you have one rival and you guys are just going to swap back and forth. This is really anyone can win on the top. I mean, I could easily see Marquez, Maverick, Valentino, or Dovi winning this title. And that's not even an exaggeration. Like, all those guys could win this title, and so could Pedrosa, potentially. So going on a fucking 7-race tear is not going to happen because he doesn't only have one guy to worry about who's just hanging back and not taking any risks.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, if he pulls his Mr. Consistency out and goes on that same tear...
If he pulls his what out? Whip it out! Whip that shit out!
Mr. Consistency.
That's right. That's why I tell my girlfriend it's not Mr. Bigley. It might not be the fucking dopest, but it's Mr. Consistent.
Yeah, you can always count
it's always
on it.
Here.
Up for you. Always here, straight up.
It's generally ready to go. Generally. Not always, but for the most part.
Gonna get some really solid performances in there.
You're gonna get a solid performance. You're getting what you paid for. It's not championship winning, but every once in a while, it'll surprise you.
That's what Rob's saying. Is like, because the championship is so close all across the board, I mean, he doesn't have to win.
Right, if she's telling me she's so close, I'm like, fuck, Mr. Consistency's going to bring it home.
Hey, all she needs is, you just need once or twice a year to have those special moments. And
right.
It'll happen eventually.
All I got to ask her now is if I can get a bike swap from time to time. What? Damn, she heard that. She's giving me the evil eye right now.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Oh, she knows you don't have a motorcycle, so...
Yeah, except, fuck, don't say that out loud, dog.
All right, let's... So we've already talked about Ducati a lot, but let's transition over to them.
Speaking of Mr. Consistency right now, it's Dovizioso, so let's talk about
it. It
him.
was Dovizioso until his fucking team screwed up the consistency, god damn it. I mean, Dovi, like, I saw him in practice working on that race pace, right? He didn't even throw in the qualifier. It looked like he wasn't going to make it into Q2. There was some crazy shit going on, but he ended up putting in a solid qualifying pace anyway. But he had the race pace to fight with Marquez and fight with Rossi the entire weekend, and then it rained. And I knew it was going to rain, but I'm still pissed off about it.
But what it didn't do was consistently rain, right? Like, that's his jam, right? I mean, he's going to do well. And now every time we say the word consistently, y'all know what you're thinking. Every time. Yeah, exactly. But what I mean is, like, it was a flag to flag. And what did we say all off season? And what did we begin? The problem with Lorenzo going to Ducati is every once in a while, Ducati just going to fuck up.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
They're just going to fucking screw the pooch. You know what I mean? And that's exactly what happened. And this is a major problem with Dovi is that he wasn't the problem. His team kind of fucked him on this one.
Yeah, he probably would have went in with either Pedrosa or Vinales in one of those two groups and had not a 6th place finish. And it would have been considerably more points, and he would have been a little bit closer. I mean, he's not out of it, right? Because he's only, he's 21 points back right now. It's not that far. But at the same time, when you're trying to consistency your way to the title, that's not a phrase. I can't use that. But
yes.
it doesn't help. Oh, killed it.
Yeah, no, but I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like, what did we say? I said this a couple times, is that, Dovi can win the title if on his bad day he gets a top 5. That was what Valentino said at one point, is that to win the title this year, you've got to consistently be in the top 5, because it's a wacky year and there's going to be problems. But if you can limit your problems and then seize the moment when you can, you're good. Dovi already did that. He won 2 races he really shouldn't have won, and now we're going to the race where we think he's going to win. So if he's going to have a good performance in Austria, you've got to think he's going to. And, if he can get a win or a second there, and suddenly he's back in it. But to have to pencil those things in, but then get a 6th place is rough, because that outside the top 5 becomes a real big problem for bringing points in and limiting damage against guys that do win.
Yeah, I mean, the other racers have a few retirements and a few outside of the top 5 finishes. Now he's just racking up more outside of the top 5 finishes. I mean, he's also got that one retirement as well, so it's not helping. I mean, that's why they're all so close right now, because they're all having somewhat similar performances. It's just someone will eventually make fewer mistakes than everyone else and pull slightly away in the title. And that's what we're seeing right now, and we've only got 8 races left.
Right. So, but, what you did see him in terms of, he said managing risks or not taking risks was he did not rock the dope winglet, sneaklet, I don't even know what you want to call those things on that Ducati that Lorenzo did. He went, standard fairing, but holy shit, Ducati unveiled something that I could not help but fucking laugh when I saw.
No, wait, you were laughing at them? What's going on?
No. I wasn't laughing at them. I actually think they're fucking cool. Right? Like, I actually like how it looks. Hold on. Hear me out. What I was laughing at was, like, everyone, like, had this, like, we gotta ban winglets because they're dangerous. Or we gotta ban winglets because they're too expensive. When in reality, we all knew it was old fucking purists who just didn't like how they look. And they try to come up with other reasons to trick you into fucking saying, oh yeah, I agree with that rule change. But it was out of the bag, dude, and Ducati fucking came back with a vengeance in the craziest fucking, in a million years, I never thought this is what they were gonna fucking drop. It's so amazing. It's fucking crazy. And I was just laughing because I'm like, careful what you fucking wish for, guys who want to make rules to get rid of them, because that fucking shit is gonna come back to bite you. And holy crap, it was amazing.
They're a big middle finger to the rule book and to all the haters, and I do love them for that. I very much do. I kind of wish they had made the hammerhead design work better, because it was so outrageous, and it seemed, from my engineering standpoint, it seemed more interesting. But I'm down with the alien head and the side winglet ducks, or whatever we're going to call them.
Well, and they fucking, not only did they fuck with the rules by making that, but Petrucci had a variation of it that was technically the same homologated fairing, because those bottom strakes he had were detachable. So they have an integrated detachable part, so it's technically one fairing that you can take portions off, so the limited number of fairings they're allowed to list for the year isn't affected by it. So if you look at the side-by-side comparison, Petrucci's GP17 was actually different than Lorenzo's, but it's technically the same fairing because they made detachable a bottom portion that literally could come off, but if it's off, what remains is still legal.
No, I love it. The guy that wrote up the rule book and is having to approve all this shit, he's just like got the major face palm. He looks at it and he's like, yeah, that's fine. Damn it.
Yeah. Right.
Found the loophole. But Dennis, I feel like you were going to tell us how much you hate the winglets.
You know what? I hate it so much I actually want the hammerhead design instead.
What? Really?
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that over what we got right now.
You want googly eyes like Herbie fucking Hammerhead over this crazy like alien head that we have on the front fairing right now.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Hammerhead one actually it's more subtle. It's more fucking subtle.
Wait, there's no way it's more subtle. No,
I know insane. It's not, but I'm just saying, like, relatively speaking, it's more subtle. It's horrible. I can't believe I'm saying it.
Damn, that was not expected. Well, I mean, to me, I think it's awesome that Ducati probably got a look at the KTM with this upper fairing that's very sharp and is definitely producing downforce, and they were like, "Hey, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do that." And now everyone's copying the new guy on the block that's spending a bunch of money in this class. Which is,
I was gonna say, can we move on to the next itinerary, which is Austria? But then I just realized it's more winglet talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck.
Yes. No, I mean, here's the thing, man. Like, this is prototype racing, and I give them credit. You know, look, Ducati's gonna make super sweet street bikes. They're gonna make the Panigale. They got the V41 coming out. It'll look sexy. It'll look awesome. But that's not the point of these. The point is to make a bike that gets around the track as fast as fucking possible. And if they're gonna, use this crazy fairing setup to get front end downforce and to get feel in the front tire and anti-wheelie and all that, fucking great. It looks cool. It looks exotic, and that's what these things are supposed to be. They're supposed to be They're not supposed to look like the bike you can go buy in the fucking dealership. That's why World Superbike is supposed to exist. This is supposed to be the most exotic bikes and the biggest branding. And Ducati right now is proving that they're a race company. That's their whole fucking brand and image. Ducati course, their passion, their racing, their all of that stuff. And this is proving it. They're not leaving any stone unturned when it comes to the rule book and when it comes to exploiting what they need to do. I mean, you know, I said this on our Instagram point. I don't think any of this fucking winglets talk would have been a problem if fucking Yamaha and Honda had just painted theirs instead of having shitty-ass matte black plastic that looks like the fucking mud guards you buy for your dirt bike at Cycle Gear. You know what I mean? Like, and just pop riveted them on. Paint the things, integrate the styles, and it looks good. Ducati's last year looked awesome because they were fully integrated, and this year their whole system looks great. Fucking Yamaha debuted a pretty radical design at the Brno test. Which test was it, Rob? What test?
The Brno test.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, making sure. And it looks great, but part of the reason it looks good is because it's fully painted and integrated, and it doesn't look like shitty little add-ons that are sticking on there. It looks like it's there with intent and reason.
I think a lot of people are going to actually like the new Yamaha design because the side ones are so integrated and just they don't look like they've been slapped on, and you can barely tell that they're there from some angles. But really, for me, the Yamaha, that's where MotoGP is going, right? We've got the aggressive upper fairing, we've got the winglets or the ducks or the sneaklets on the side to produce downforce. And GP bikes are going to diverge from street bikes even more because they've found this technology, because they've found this technique to load the front end more and to get free anti-wheelie out of the thing. And I'm down for that because, like you're saying, I don't need them to look like street bikes. I just need them to be badass and go as fast as possible.
Right, literally, I wanted to go as fast as possible, and that's what I want to see. Now, the question is during the test, you know, afterwards, Dovi talked about it, and he said he wasn't super convinced on them because, again, they make you go faster in a vacuum per lap, but they are heavier to turn and requires a little more energy. And I think the success to Dovi this year has been he's a little more relaxed and has more for it at the end of the race. So you'd see him go fast and fade the last couple of years, and now he rides the Ducati with no, you know, crazy winglets, and he's there, you know, till the bitter end. And you gotta wonder if he'll run him in Austria or not, because they do make the bike a little harder to ride over race distance.
I mean, the Austrian Grand Prix, that track doesn't really have that many corners, so you know that all of the manufacturers kind of penciled in the summer break, the Brno GP, and the Brno test to bring out these winglets, get some time on them because they want to use them for the next track. There are so many long straightaways and just hard drives out of second gear corners that they need that anti-wheelie to actually win. Like Ducati was so successful there last year with their gobs of horsepower and their awesome winglets that they knew they had to bring a better weapon to this racetrack to actually try and beat them. So, I mean, that's why Marquez and Pedrosa were testing them on the Honda, and that's likely why Yamaha brought them to the Monday test as well, because they need him for Austria coming up in what? We got 3 days left.
Yeah, and to me personally, I think it's fucking cool. Does the bike have to look like super sexy and aesthetically pleasing? I don't know. I can't afford one. Can you? You know what I mean? Like, fuck, you know, I'm not going to buy one, so does it matter that I think it looks awesome? It looks interesting. I mean, I got more likes and comments and talk about posting just pictures of static bikes with those fairings than a lot of other pictures because it's a fucking conversation piece. It's interesting. And it's something we've seen motorcycles with twin spar aluminum frames and inline 4s or V4s with with a Michelin or Bridgestone for fucking 25 years now. You know what I mean? Like, literally, like, it's time to add something and have it grow. It's got to be slightly more than just a spectator sport and spec racing. Like, let these fucking guys let them, let Pandora's box, open it up and let them see what they can do. Let's see some radical designs. Everyone bemoans that Moto 2 didn't have any radical entries and designs when they could do whatever they want with the chassis, and the moment fucking teams do it, everyone fucking gives them shit. In MotoGP.
You mean like me and jumping on KTM in both classes?
Yes. Right.
I mean, we have Moto 2 to look like the super sleek, like taking back to the 125 250 era of just like plain fairings, no crazy ducks. Moto 2 will likely look like that for a very long time, as will Moto 3, right? GP, they will do some crazy shit, make them look different, make them look aggressive, and it's happening. But so before we jump off of Austria and the winglets, Jorge Lorenzo has the most time on the winglet bike now because he needs that front end feeling. Do you think he can do something good at Austria, or did his performance in the race show you that he's going to be screwed?
Dude, he's like the biggest non-factor possible. Like, he's so far behind where God, even I was like, he'll probably win a race or two because the Ducati's pretty good and he's pretty. So I have a hard time thinking he's gonna beat Dovi on the bike just because fucking he sucks.
This is his last chance really to win a race for the entire season because the Ducati is not as good everywhere else as they are at Austria.
Right. Yeah, I just don't see him beating Dovi. Dovi is simply better than him at riding the Ducati, and I think realistically, as we've seen as riders come and go, the way to be good in Ducati is to ride it for a really long time. You're not going to be good in your first season. No one has, except for Casey Stoner a decade ago. Otherwise,
who?
Right, exactly. That guy who sometimes tests for them, but no one is fast on that bike in their first, second. Dovi didn't even become like semi-fast until a couple seasons deep. Same with Iannone, and he had the satellite bike and then got factory parts on the satellite bike and then came to the fucking factory team. Like, it's a commitment to be fast in Ducati, and now I'm just not seeing. Lorenzo has not gelled with that thing so poorly that I don't even know what to say.
It's interesting because we've all heard Lorenzo say that he just asked for people to give him time, so it's almost like he's echoing your sentiments, in that there's no way he could be competitive his first year. He needs the time to actually be competitive on that bike.
Yeah, he says that now. I feel like when he was penning that contract, when he was actually signing for those dollars, that he didn't think that. Yeah. Like, he probably thought he was going to win a race or two this year, and those chances are dwindling dramatically.
Yeah, you saw Dovizioso and Iannone were winning races and podiuming regularly last year. He had to think, I'm better than those guys, so I'm going to be able to do better than that. And just, nope, you're really not, bro. Yeah.
Now learn how to use the thumb brake, man. It's going to be helpful.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Wait for Ducati to screw up your tire change there. That's not
and you wonder if the winglets, the whole crazy fairing system over race distance. We've talked about this. We've hit on this point a million times that it's physically draining to ride that bike for race distance, because while those things do increase performance per lap, it's heavier turning and it's tiring for you. You just wonder if he'll be able to keep up the same kind of consistent, brutal pace that Lorenzo needs to be able to win races on a bike that's very demanding over 45 minutes. The Yamaha was easy to ride and not physically demanding. Very neutral and does what you say, whereas the Ducati, you kind of got to make it do what you say. It's not agreeable.
On the flip side of that, though, we've often commented that Jorge is the most fit guy in the paddock because his riding style demands it. So while he was on like one of the easier bikes to ride, he made it difficult by having to ride it with his style, right? Like, and it's very hard to know what sort of rider Jorge is becoming on the Ducati because we don't see much of him in the races. So it might be that with his use of the rear brake now and with his extreme fitness, he's not going to have as much of a difficult time as all the other Ducati riders, even though he has that style, right? Because he is so damn fit. I don't know. We're going to find out Eventually. I hope we find out next round. I hope we get a solid dry race and he's actually towards the front where we can see him do something.
Yeah, and it's like almost, this race was kind of funny, and I posted that too, is that he got 15th this race. He sucked. We barely ever saw him, didn't go. But this was like the one time it wasn't really his fault. He did actually jump out in front in the rain, in the wet and lead and do really well, which was surprising because, he's gotten so much shit in the last couple of seasons for not really being known as a wet rider, a wet race rider. But this time he jumps out in front and does well, and he's right up there. And then, of course, his team fucks up, doesn't know where he's at on the track, tells him to come in, the bike's not ready, and he's got to go to a race where he has expectations to do well, and regardless of whatever fucking smile he put on and fake for the camera, he's fucking heated at his team, so you have that strife and friction in the team, him knowing, hey man, you guys fucked me last time, what the hell? And he's going where he has pressure to do well, the team has pressure to do well, and they ain't gelling so well right now.
Yeah, I mean, Ducati wants a 1-2 at the next round for sure, out of the factory.
Right.
And it just might be a 1-2 with like Dovi and Petrucci and then Jorge.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, well, we've kind of already been including Jorge in the Hall of Shame, but we got some time real fast. So let's talk about the Hall of Shame for this past round. Number
New
one.
New segment, Hall of Shame.
Number one is... I mean, actually, should we do Iannone first? Yeah, we'll do Iannone first. He's borderline Hall of Shame. Iannone crashing in the pits. So
not his fault. I have talked a lot of shit about Andre Iannone lately between his straight-up gay porn Instagram stories, which, by the way, hell of our listeners thought we were joking, and there's a slow trickle of messages where they forward me his stories, and they're like, bro, I thought you were joking. I am not joking. This is not a test. This is not a drill. There's hot, sweaty, shirtless dudes filling his stories. What's happening? I don't know.
That's
but
awesome.
yeah, but it's a real thing. But this was not his fault. Like when he first you saw him disappear, you're like, oh my god, he fucking crashed in the pits. Of course he did. The same weekend he said he bet his balls that the thing would be competitive. I don't even know what that means. I bet my balls? Like, what? But he is not his fault. This is actually the Alicia Spargo Hall of Shame segment.
Oh, yeah. So MotoGP hasn't really successfully got down flag to flags and riders not hitting each other on when one of them is being released to go back into hot pit. But yeah, I mean, you were telling me that there's actual footage of him almost spearing Alicia Spargo.
There's footage from inside the garage of Aprilia. You see it clear as day. They're waving him on. Alicia comes in. He hops bikes. He goes out, and he completely cuts off Iannone, who's coming into his... And Iannone, like movie style, lays the bike down to avoid crashing. I can't believe he didn't get hurt. He lays his bike down, and it knocks over his B bike. Like,
oh, it did.
It's completely not his fault. Like, I have the video. I'm going to edit it to make it sweet. I'll probably put it in to chickadee check yourself before you wreck yourself, because that's like what you have to do in these flag-to-flag races where you wreck someone else. But it's not his fault. It's fully Alicia's and Alicia's team's fault. And the fact that he didn't fucking kill someone is a miracle.
I mean, the only thing that gets me is he's a fucking MotoGP rider. He should have done like a stoppie on the rain wet tire and like pivoted the rear tire down, like set it down in the right spot.
He's not Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. What are you talking? John Woo is not directing fucking MotoGP races. Pigeons aren't flying by in slow motion and shit. What are you talking about? He should have stopped and pivoted and wheelied and then looked at the camera and sunglasses come over his eyes and it goes thug life.
Yeah, and his bro like comes out without his shirt on and poses for the camera and then he takes off. Yeah, that would have been
that
perfect.
actually happens. That happens on the regular.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Lowe's in MotoGP, not in MotoGP, back out, back in. What the hell is going on here with Lowe's?
Mr. Consistency, yo.
Yeah, he consistently sucks, but I know he consistently has less points than Michele Pira, who is a wild card test rider.
Yep, who got 9 by
right
3 times as many points as Lowe's. Terrible.
Yeah, not good. Lowe's is just. I mean, every time the thing that sucks about us is, we're in the English-speaking world, so 3/4 of what we read is basically sourced from the British media, who are as fucking biased as it possibly gets. And they are Fox News level bias, right? And so everything is like Lowe's is getting shafted, it's not his fault, all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. Like, dude, Lowe's is just a bust and he's not that good.
What I hear now is the team is pissed off that they have to make so many spare parts, and it's affecting their development.
Right.
Which that's terrible for an Aprilia team to come out and say, "Hey, this is getting too difficult. You're wasting all of our money and our time here. We need to do something else."
Right. But, stop crashing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's if he leaves MotoGP, I really don't give a shit because, yeah, I think he's a bust. I don't think he ever deserved the ride, even from Moto2. Like, we've seen other riders come in that we expected not to do well. Like, Bradley came in, and he has something that's keeping him in the paddock that's hard to describe. But Lowe's, not so much. He just needs to go. And I'm down with them canceling his 2-year contract and just limiting him to 1.
Yep, find someone else and move on. I don't know. I mean, at this point, it's like, even if it's not his fault, there's so much friction in there. Just better to cut your losses and move on because it's never going to be saved.
Yeah, I mean, once you really start thinking about dumping the girlfriend, you better just do it. You can't drag it out for 6 months. It's bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's basically exactly what it is. They just got to ghost him. Just don't return his calls. Hey guys, what hotel are we staying at for this race? And just fucking just ghosted him. Like, he has no idea where they are. He shows up to Austria, and they just literally has no idea what hotel they're in. They're asking their other Italian friends, Ducati, and Ducati's looking around like, oh, God, we don't want to get in the middle of this. We don't even really know Aprilia that well anyway. We're not really friends. Like, just fucking ghost him hard. 7th grade style. Straight up 7th grade style.
They're going to ghost him mid-season.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's going to show up and someone else is going to be riding his bike and he's just going to go, Aprilia's just going to go, oh, this is awkward.
Right. About as awkward as Scott Redding posting a bunch of stories and pictures of him with Maverick's ex and how fucking happy he is. Like, dude, bro. You monkey Frenched in a van down by the river in 3 months, speaking of getting sacked by your team and not being in MotoGP. But, if you're gonna fucking shack up with the hot new dude's ex, you gotta be a little more discreet about that shit, dude. It's not a good look. Like, hey, look at me. And everyone's like, hey, that chick that Maverick kicked to the curb. Like, what?
Monkey fresh. That's all I got to say about that one. Yeah, so Scott Redding is our 3rd place on the Hall of Shame right now.
Yes.
For his 2 amazing performances in the last 2 races, dead last in Sachsenring and almost dead last in Brno.
Right, who fully admits he has no options for MotoGP next year.
Yeah, I do think it's hilarious, though, that supposedly Aprilia is looking at him to replace Lowe's. Or that's what Grassini's saying at the moment.
Redding, to me, I used to like Redding. I mean, I liked him in Moto2. He has been an example of the worst timing possible every year. Like, he goes onto a production Honda with the Mark VDS, and he switches team. Like, it's just like he's never been in the right place at the right time, even once. And now he's at the Pramac, but he's on the 2nd tier bike, and he's, not Italian, and we know how much fucking Ducati likes their non-Italian riders. But, it's just, his whole career in MotoGP has been wrong place, wrong time.
And it's going to continue, too, because if he goes back to Mark VDS, he's essentially the number 2 rider to Franco. And if he goes to Grassini Aprilia, he's a holdover rider for someone. He'll get a 1-year contract, and they'll be holding over for a better rider the following year. Waiting for their development to continue. He has no
waiting for
outs.
Navarro to come up or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. He has no outs to stay in GP and get a good ride for at least the next 2 years. It's just not going to happen. So, I mean, we liked him for it before, and it seemed like his results were higher than expectations because of all these problems with coming in at the wrong time. But now he's matching those shitty expectations. It's just not working out for his career right now. And the Ducati is not a bad motorcycle. Yeah,
right.
I don't
mean,
know about him.
Other guys are doing well on it. I mean, Alvaro Bautista's doing pretty damn solid on it. You know, I mean, you want to say that you can't really compare him to Petrucci because Petrucci has the GP17. Okay, I can sort of see that, but other Ducati riders are not having just this consistently terrible performances.
Yeah. Alvaro's just inconsistently crashing.
Yes, exactly.
Oh man, I guess he's kind of the last one on our Hall of Shame, but not really. We don't need to talk about him.
Yeah, the only thing that's about the Hall of Shame regarding Alvaro Bautista is when he crashed out and Nick Harris was wholly convinced it was Carl Abraham and went on about it. That's when I was just
poor Carl.
It's not even funny anymore. Everyone's like, oh, I can't wait to hear Kevin rant on Nick Harris. This is going to be great. It's going to be so fun. We've done it a lot. It's kind of old. It's not even funny anymore. It's just straight up, taking away from the broadcast. I'm literally sitting with my girlfriend, and I'm bummed. The race is not that entertaining, but okay. The announcer's job is to make a non-entertaining race more entertaining, and then his job is to make an entertaining race a fever pitch. His job is to fill dead space, and he consistently filled it with constantly incorrect things. You know what I mean? It's to the point where, Jesus, fuck already. It's just taking...
I feel bad for Matt Bird, genuinely.
Yeah, seriously. He gets to work with that other guy for the other two races and then comes over to Nick Harris.
Yeah, and I don't know what... I mean, yeah, he's been there for a long time. At some point, it's dude, you're embarrassing yourself. This isn't cool anymore. It's the same thing an old boxer. He was the champ, and then he loses, but he keeps fighting because he gets some wins, and he still has a little bit of glory. But then he gets knocked out 7 times, and you're champ, it's done. You're over. You had a good run. Your shit was legit for a while, but now it's just bad, and everyone kind of cringes when you come out. It's the same thing. His fucking tropes and his sayings are so old and repeatable that I shit you not, they show the what happened at the first half of the season, and the very end is they fade out and Nick Harris goes, and let battle commence, and then it fades into the live feed and he goes, they're lining up on the grid, let battle commence. And I'm oh, motherfucker. They're repeating the thing. They have it. He has so few things to say that he's repeating his own sound bites. Saib told me that he almost killed himself with the Masterclass drinking game during this fucking race. You know what I mean? At some point, stop saying it's Masterclass. You've already said that.
That's why he invented Masterstroke.
Right. I don't know what... I mean... At some point, I thought he was having a Masterstroke. This guy's, what is happening here?
Oh no!
Oh, that's my point. See, the sound, that right there, Dennis. Literally, when you're oh, that's how I felt. I'm man, why you gotta make me do this? That's what it is. At some point, you're making it too easy. I have to do it because our fans demand it, and it's fucking shooting fish in a barrel.
Oh, I can't even. No, I lost it. That was it.
Yes.
Oh man, we're gonna end on that. Actually, that was
right.
Perfect. That was the very you closed out the Hall of Shame in the best possible way.
Right. I'm just afraid to provoke Kevin anymore, so I'm just not gonna say anything.
Oh man. All right, everyone. It is Monday night. You'll catch this episode on Tuesday. So thanks for listening, and we'll catch you very soon.
Thanks.